So, friends, we gather to inaugurate the autumn 2025 semester of the Global Village University. I'll say a bit more about that once we step into it, but I wanted to begin with a prayer from Queen Mother Bernice Atchison, who was a first graduate who got a doctorate from our program. She's a spring chicken at 87, and this degree she received not long after defeating the U.S. Department of Agriculture virtually single-handedly on behalf of 66,000 Black farmers of Mother Earth. She is, I would say, a truly Michaelic soul. So, Queen Mother, we're delighted to have you with us. The floor is yours. We are grateful for your opening prayer.
I'm sorry, I bleeped.
I trust
My internet went out. I don't know why.
we hear you well, Queen Mother. And Queen Mother is the co-chair of the Center for American Studies. Queen Mother, if you hear us, the floor is yours.
Yes,
You can begin anytime.
yes, I hear you. I'd like to say good evening to each and every one of you, and thank God that He has allowed us to come back again and meet each other again to begin this fall session. God has been great to us, and He has been good. Some of us have had medical problems. I've had a new kneecap that I'm dealing with. But we're thankful that God has brought us again. And now, as we welcome you to this fall session, may we clear our minds and bow our heads. Father God, you have allowed us to meet again, to share information, to learn thy will. Keep us under the shadows of thy wing. Grant us mercy and grace. As we begin anew, we come with open minds and we submit to thy will as we open this session for this fall. Now, Lord, we pray that you keep us in peace and harmony as we journey through this time of sharing and learning for this session. Amen. That's cool.
Amen.
Thank you, Queen Mother. So, friends, we're brought together thanks to this technology. And technology is something that we can take easily for granted. We can, in fact, use it. But if we were at a dinner party together and if someone we heard beside us were to say they use their mother, their father, their sister, their brothers, we might raise our eyebrows. We don't do that, however, when we talk about using our computers. And for those who recognize that the world is alive, is profoundly alive, we are able to come together because of I would say, certain elemental spirits that are in a way chained into the technology, chained into the technology. And that involves a real suffering. And so if we don't acknowledge that, which we do at the beginning of our sessions, we are doing just that. We're using these forces. And in the olden days, when one was given a gift and one recognized the gift, one offered a sacrifice in return, in thanks, something that was valued. If we don't offer such a thanks, such a sacrifice, if you will, consciously, then it is exacted of us, I think, unconsciously in many ways, many ways that many people aren't aware of. And so I want to read a passage, those who've been part of our program thus far are aware, from a book testament I wrote called Kindred Spirits, with the author of a kindred book, a blind Swiss anthroposophist called Ursula Burkhardt, Anthroposophy as in anthropos, human being, Sophia. So a wisdom of the human being, not theosophy, a wisdom of God, but a wisdom of the divinity in man, Anthroposophia. And she describes an encounter she had, this blind Swiss anthroposophist. Some of you may know the work of Rudolf Steiner, the Waldorf Schools, Biodynamic Agriculture. And she writes, the ending of the encounter, I'm sorry, I have to go back a little bit more. So she's describing she's in a radio station and she's doing a broadcast. And she is very deeply moved by the suffering of the elemental spirits behind the technology. And she writes, of her grief for the gnome-like mechanical beings, noting that while they appear to belong to the elemental world, they are cut off from everything that is living. And as a result, they are if chained to the machine. They are an idea, fixation that has become concrete, materialized. With their superhuman cleverness, they have been forced to work towards a manifestation of such machines, in contrast to the vital, living and unfolding realm of the plants. They are thereby tragically their own prisoners. As a result, they receive even less attention and devotion from us human beings whom they serve than do other nature spirits. And Ursula says, I must hold the gnome-like machine beings in my consciousness and thank them for their work. Such thankfulness comes neither naturally nor readily, as is the case with other less burdened and more endearing nature spirits. So one of the things, friends, that distinguishes this global village university, this uncommon school, and I wish I found it even within our anthroposophical circles, is we don't take this technology for granted. We don't just use it or abuse it. We recognize the suffering, the sacrifice that brings us together. So I'd like to pause for a moment and just invite people to take that in. And then we will proceed. And I'll ask Queen Mother to speak about her experience, that I'll say more. So after a pause, I'd love to hear from you, Queen Mother, more fully.
Sure, I didn't quite hear all that you said. You was fading out. But what I think about this, it's an opportunity that is given some who would never be able to achieve a goal that they have set or even dreamed of for all of their lives. you know, I was speaking with a group this past week, and I told them, I said, well, I had to wait until I was in my 80s to finish my education. And they said, well, why did you wait so long? I said, well, I had children. I was a mother. I was a farmer. You know, all of these things set precedent over my formal education. I had finished high school and I have never stopped learning from the time that I came out of high school until now. I'm continue learning, and the process of this journey never stops. We are on a journey through this life, uh, whereby it carries us into many facets. God may allow us to be used in one sector or in another. And I have been blessed to have been gifted to be able to work in the medical field, in the legal field, and in the educational field. And that meant I was ever revolving, ever being reincarnated, as you might say, because it never stopped with me. And each time that God would prepare me to go to a different level, I was grateful. I'm still grateful today because it not only aided and assisted me, but it gave me something that I could pass on to someone else. And I have never ceased to try and share what God has given me. So it's an evolution. And I'm grateful to the center for opening its doors in such a manner whereby it offers this opportunity to people like me that could have never afforded it and would have never thought about it if somebody along the way had not stopped and said, has you considered this? Or would you try this? Or what if we offered you this? And the choice is yours, but the consequences can be very great because it can propel you into other areas that you would never think of. And I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful to be a part of this. I'm grateful to be able to share and to receive, more especially to receive from you a part of what you have to give to me. And it's free. It's free. You're not charging me for it. You're giving it to me.
Looks like she froze.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah, we need to keep these good.
I like what she was saying.
I think she'll be back. She'll be back. Warm welcome, Kathy. How nice to see your name there. Let's wait. Let's give Queen Mother a moment. I'll just say a word about Queen Mother. Actually, she was a product of and she wouldn't mind me saying this. I've done it before. Queen Mother, you're there. Can you hear us?
I'm here now. I don't know what's going on with my my internet. It's flicking in and out. I have no control over it.
Please, please, if you wish, carry on.
Well, I'm just grateful. I think I've said enough. I'll leave it to someone else to say something.
Thank you. Well, I want to say a little bit more about Queen Mother. As I mentioned, she is the co-chair of the Center for American Studies, which for which this initiative, the Global Village University, is a central aspect. Queen Mother's in her 88th year, I guess now. And she doesn't mind me saying this, she was born of a violent rape to a deaf and dumb mother, who she then saw killed in front of her. She nursed herself on the crumbs of bread, but the crumbs she knew came from the loaf. She taught herself to read on diner menus, sorry. And she worked long, long days to survive. Not only a parentless child is not an easy path to go, but having come into the world out of wedlock, as noted, makes it even more difficult. But Queen Mother's motto has been, don't be bitter, be better. Don't be bitter, be better. And that's what happened. She became the first Black jury commissioner in Alabama, a woman, no less, appointed by the famous, infamous Governor Wallace. And when she and Governor Wallace were at a high school graduation, Governor Wallace in his wheelchair having been brought down, he realized for his sins, his mortality. Queen Mother turned to him, looked down at him in his wheelchair and said, Governor Wallace, this was a high school graduation. Why didn't you allow my children to go to the same schools as your children? And Governor Wallace, who knew and appreciated Bernice, said, Bernice, that was my job. The job being to represent his constituents who hadn't yet discovered their Black brothers and sisters in their fullness. So she became Governor Wallace's mother confessor, and she went on, as I mentioned, to win a lawsuit on behalf of 66,000 Black farmers of Mother Earth to bring justice to them against the Department of Agriculture. Over 20 years of work, virtually alone. So that, friends, is what's possible. And that is what the Center for American Studies Global Village University strives to foster. I wanted to say a few words about our work, and then I want to lead it into Jean Yeager and to Kathy Seraphim, who are with us. So I was thinking today, Harvard University, considered one of the finest educational institutions in this country, if not further afield, has been described as a hedge fund with a university attached to it. A hedge fund, financial fund with university attached to it. In other words, it's pretty much dominated by the economic sphere. And I think many can understand that you find the same thing with universities, public universities that are dominated by the political sphere. None of which I would suggest has anything essential to do with education. Because education, if anything, is a cultural impulse. As in, without a vision, the people perish. Or as in, our disciplines today, Emerson said, my neighbor here in Concord, without that primary faculty of intuition, become but tuitions, expensive tuitions. So we're going to continue to hell in a handbasket. Without a vision, the people perish unless education finds its cultural source and isn't dominated by the economic sphere and the political sphere. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We offer a degree, fully accredited, high school through postdoctorate, in the cutting edge field of not the physical, natural, social, or cognitive sciences. 50 years ago, the cognitive sciences didn't exist. 100 years ago, the social sciences didn't exist. Now they're curriculums and courses and conferences and seminars and degrees in these fields. I would say the next emerging field is what one can call the spiritual sciences, or a science of the spirit, a fully realized expression of knowledge, of scientia, or we speak of it as an enlightened common sense. So we offer a degree in the cutting edge field of the spiritual sciences with one of the finer small college collegiums in the nation, that, if need be, that's fully accredited. And we'll go into that. That doesn't need to cost a penny if people don't have the resources. And that all but guarantees not just a job for serious students, but the fulfillment of their calling through the Center for American Studies Concordium, or Circle of Friends, roughly 5,000 around the world. Tim Murphy's with us tonight, not looking for a degree, but with his daughter. And Tim is a friend of the Center for American Studies. Steve Berman is on the phone here, and others. So that's what it's about in simple terms. And I want to transition to Jean and Kathy by speaking about what inspired this initiative of the Center for American Studies at Concord. And that is, I ran into three groups of people, or constituencies, if you will, where I thought these are remarkable individuals, but they have very little chance of getting a degree. Very little chance of getting a degree. And I was moved by these human connections to think we should do something for them. And so, and these constituencies were Africans, not exclusive of African Americans, but they happen to be Africans who I met, Native Americans, and prisoners. The work we're doing isn't narrow to those three groups alone, but those were the groups I bumped into, remarkable individuals who had so much to offer, but little opportunity to afford an education and to get the degrees that can help us along the way. So with that, I would like to transition to Jean Yeager and then Kathy to tell us about their work with prisoners. And the remarkable experiences prisoners have had with this aspiring science of the spirit, this common, uncommon sense. So Jean, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
I'm going to try to unmute myself. Can you hear?
We
Okay.
hear.
Thank you very much. My name is Jean Yeager, and a number of years ago, I was the administrative director of the Anthroposophical Society in America. And during that time, I met Kathy Seraphin and her boss, Fred Janney, who were working with prisoners in different phases in Michigan. And I wanted to do some volunteer work in jails and maximum security prisons, basically for my own egotistic need to see whether or not my understanding or the work of Rudolf Steiner could translate to African Americans, particularly to prisoners. And so I began doing some volunteering, teaching about the work of Steiner, and to see what I would learn with regards to how these insights and ideas played in a totally different cultural situation. And basically, then I met Fred Janney, who was the head person of the anthroposophical program for working with the incarcerated individual, the Anthroposophic prison outreach. And I hope Kathy will speak a great deal about that work. But basically what I picked up on doing, based on Fred's work, Fred had written a book on using Rudolf Steiner's 6 subsidiary exercises to help prisoners reform themselves. And just to say that what I discovered was that if you volunteer to teach in a jail or you volunteer to teach in a prison, you'll find that jail is quite different than a prison. In jail, men are incarcerated for short periods of time. In prisons, men are incarcerated sometimes for years. When I first started teaching in prisons, it was the fact that the men in prison had decided that they wanted to improve themselves and change their lives. And so I used Fred's book, which I recommend you seek out. Kathy can help you find that. But basically, my course was very, very simple. It's a weekly based course. First week was introductions and an overview, rules of the road of how we were going to meet together. The second weekly meeting was control of thinking, the practice of concentration, forming your thoughts, overcoming flighty thoughts and distractions. The third week was control of intentions, mastery of impulses, regularly reviewing your accomplishments. The fourth week was control of feelings, which is tolerance, forbearance or equilibrium, and equanimity. An interesting part of our lives that is challenged in a maximum security prison. The fifth week was positivity, looking for the good and the true in each situation. The sixth week was open-mindedness, which is the ability to not let the past dictate the future, staying flexible, and the meeting of mind. The seventh week was harmony and balance, repetition, and of the exercises, and 8 was maintenance, creating choice architecture to eliminate the rapid kind of thinking that many of us work with. So the weekly session became opportunities for men to discuss the experiences of being incarcerated and to hear how choices improve their experiences. And that's basically what I did. And was in a maximum security prison teaching this type of program for quite a long time, and later moved to Vermont, where I taught in a local jail, which was something quite different. But now let me turn this over to Kathy Seraphin, who's the director of the Anthroposophic Prison Outreach, the APO, who I believe just had a fundraising walkathon. Or if it hasn't happened yet, I encourage you all to sign up for the walkathon. But if it has,
Gene,
Kathy will give us a report, I'm sure. Kathy?
Gene, thank you. Maybe Gene, if you hear me before we transition, can you just, for those who don't know, so friends, those who don't know, Rudolf Steiner, I call him friend Rudolf Steiner, brought this wisdom of the human being, Anthroposophia, into the world. And again, people may know it from the Waldorf schools or Camp Hill or biodynamic agriculture. There are many, many spiritual scientific expressions of it. Can you just give them a sense of the importance, very briefly, and then we'll go to Kathy, if you would, Gene, of these subsidiary exercises and what you discovered they meant for the prisoners? If you could just take a few minutes more on that.
Well, I think for us all, having simple ways that help us focus on our habits and patterns of life and relate those to the spirit that lives within us and around us is what Anthroposophia was all about. The word Anthroposophy means anthro meaning human, and the posophy comes from the word Sophia, which means wisdom or understanding. And so Anthroposophy is a wisdom of our spiritual understanding as humans. In one way that's writ large, it means the human being in a spiritual context, as Mother spoke about earlier. In the narrow personal sense, it means know yourself. So Anthroposophia and these 6 subsidiary exercises are very practical ways to know yourself and about how you relate to the spirit in your daily life and practice. Does that work for you?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, there's more friends obviously that can be said, and perhaps Kathy, you want to pick up that thread or whatever, but thank you with all you're doing on your plate and have been doing for years upon years upon years. Thank you, Kathy, for joining us. The floor is yours. And we'd love to see you if we can.
Hello. I wish I tried the camera tonight and it's just not going on. So I'm here, but I'm actually here in my office. The walkathon that Jean spoke of is still to come, and in a couple weeks. So I'm working today, and glad to be here with you tonight. Yeah, I worked, kind of began here at the Society in 2001. And so I've been kind of in this little room, couple little rooms here at the Society, and sending material books, over 350 titles to prisoners across the country. And so there's been a little bit of work inside of prison, but most of the work done, the majority of the work done here is done with people through the mail. And so out of these 350 titles, they get to choose what they'd like to learn. And it just covers all different aspects of life and journeys, and just incredible opportunities and that they have. And so these books and correspondence course and a newsletter and writings and mentors all are part of how it works with the prisoners. So they get to ask for a packet to begin with, and in there is Fred's self-development in the penitentiary, the 6 exercises, including some other articles by a few other people. And so they get a feeling of, at that point, that there's something more. When they first heard about the APO, they heard that, it was just out of a question, what do you want to know about yourself? Is there something more to life that you'd like to learn? And it was just kind of out of some questions that they arose in them that they would write. And so they did. And now, of course, they share it with each other. And they also were on some prison lists that they find us. They have to search it out themselves, though. And they find us and write, and then they have this opportunity, really, they see for the first time. It's this lending library that it doesn't cost them anything, but they have these choices of these beautiful book titles out of Rudolf Steiner's work. He had over 6,000 lectures in his time, and they've turned into, basically a lot of them have been put into a book form. So they read and study, and then through the newsletter, they get to share what they've learned in the books and with each other. So they get a newsletter that's from all over the country, different people. We've been, I've sent things into over 900 prisons. So it's, it just weaves in and out of prisons. So somebody in a California prison will read something from a prisoner in Florida. And so it's really all over. And, but what they say is just incredible. They study, and some of them can, share really some deep thoughts about their study. And then they also share some of the, just what they feel like they've transformed from who they were. And I could, one man, I'll read a couple so that you can get a feeling for it. He says, "Enlightened is what I have become, no longer seeing the world through the eyes of a victim of circumstance, but of a spiritual warrior who has found that the best gift I can give to my brothers, sisters, all humanity, is that of my own self-transformation." And that was from Glenn in a prison in California. And it's just amazing to think that here I am in a prison and could have that feeling of something new coming to them. And this is just extraordinary how many write and study and take in this work that they have opportunity for. And some people have read hundreds of books over years. We have a lot of lifers. But there's a lot of transition too, because a lot of people get out of prison, and depending on maybe when they find us, and then they could, be part of the program for as long as they like, and read as much as they want. There's never been a limit, basically. And so we've also offered a correspondence course. It's 26 lessons out of this work as well. And the newsletter, it has some, I could read a couple more if you like. It's just
Nancy, yes, Kathy, it'd be wonderful if we could hear the prisoner's words, and if you could read them, if I may ask, a touch slower, it'd be wonderful.
All right, I just grabbed a newsletter, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to end up reading here, but I'm going to just choose.
Maybe while Kathy's looking, one of the things I'd like to say is friend Rudolf Steiner, which is how I speak of him, because that's what he truly was. He began every lecture he gave with the words, dear friends. And often in the midst of the lecture, he would say, friends, are you there? Are you there? Are we together? Can you hear me? But one of the things that friend Rudolf Steiner said is that the experience of our I, and imagine if we could really grasp this, the experience of our I, of ourself, of our individuality, and I think many of you would know this in your own way, arises out of the breaking down process. In German, the word is Abbau, to break down, that we have to go through the breaking down to experience ourself, and then we can turn it around into a building up process. So in German, the word for breaking down is Abbau, A-B-B-A-U, and the building up is Aufbau, B-A-U. So imagine, friends, we have to be going through the breaking down in order to come to a sense of ourself, of our spirit, that's what it would serve if we can hang in there and recognize that. And I think the reason why I was connected with prisoners and why we want to include them in this offering is because they know that as well as anybody. So Kathy, sorry for the interruption, but perhaps you found another passage or two you could read, a couple perhaps.
Yes, 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 yes. And then, so it has been almost 2 years now that I have been studying. I look at everything as a potential meditation and acts of gratitude. I spend a lot more time doing artwork every day and focusing and meditating while I do it. I'm staying out of trouble and making changes to better myself and have something to walk out of prison with for the better. I have been working on developing an unconditional compassion for all things. I've had so many judgments, likes, dislikes about people. This is a lot of work. I feel I am behind on this learning. I wish I was taught this as a young man, instead of starting at 42 years old. This is a real challenge, but the greater the challenge, the greater the reward, right? I persevere and my life becomes more filled with life and joy. If we were to incorporate Anthroposophy into an existing program, such as mindfulness, this would be easiest. I encourage the study of Anthroposophy wherever someone is receptive. When I meet others at a gathering such as Zen meditation, I share Anthroposophy. Also, during recreation time, I have some opportunity to share thoughts and experiences.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
that's from Judea, and he's in Oregon.
Might you give us one more, Kathy? Thank you very, very much. To let these voices sound into our gathering.
Anthroposophy is deep and profound source of spiritual wisdom. In my personal humble opinion, my favorite subjects are esoteric Christianity and esoteric studies. APO has inspired me to walk the path of a peaceful warrior. Life existence is all mystical and fun to be a part of. I control nothing except my thoughts. The purpose of life is to use free will choice to make life grand. To know what is above me, I have to know what's within me. Words are energetic and powerful. Life is a beautiful journey. Think positive and life will be good. I get the feeling of awe and a small sense of self when I read Anthroposophy. For me, it's unparalleled, this through the beauty of APO. The esoteric insight and knowledge I gained because of Anthroposophy, my friends notice a difference in me. The most important concept is working with people in deeper understanding. And that was Jesse in California.
Beautiful, beautiful. The fruit, Kathy, of your work. The fruit of your work. Anything you'd like to say in conclusion? And Kathy, can you put your contact information, if you would be so kind, and the website in the chat for anybody who wants to see it? Would that be possible?
I will try. I've never done that before, but I will try because I've been on before, and I'll take a look to see. There was one thing that inspired APO too, and this is something that Fred had found in the book How to Know Higher Worlds, and it was it's our inspiration really. And there's these conditions, and this is the 5th condition that Rudolf Steiner gives. And if you don't mind, I would like to read this as well, because it gives a kind of a basis of where we came from too.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Actually, it's the 2nd condition is that of the student should feel himself coordinated as a link in the whole of life. Much is included in the fulfillment of this condition, but each can only fulfill it in its own manner. Such an attitude of mind, for instance, alters the way I regard a criminal. I suspend my judgment and say to myself, I am, like him, only a human being. Through favorable circumstances, I received an education which perhaps alone saved me from a similar fate. I may then also come to the conclusion that this human brother of mine would have become a different man had my teachers taken the same pains with him they took with me. I shall reflect on the fact that something was given to me which was withheld from him, that I enjoy my fortune precisely because it was denied him. And then I shall naturally come to think of myself as link in the whole of humanity and a sharer in the responsibility for everything that occurs. And that was from, again, the book, How to Know a Higher World, Rudolf Steiner.
Beautiful. Kathy, thank you. If you go to the bottom of your screen, do you see on my computer the fourth icon from the left says chat? Can you see that?
I do.
So if you click on chat, you get the option to message everyone. Do you see that?
I've clicked on it, and then
Do you see where it says message everyone?
gosh, I don't. It says show chat previews.
Well, then let's do this. Let's do this. Kathy, thank you. Why don't you, I will send that. I will send it out to the others. May I include your email address?
Absolutely, sure, yeah.
Good, good. And Kathy, we look forward to collaborating and perhaps preparing some grants together to support your work.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. So friends, I want to build on this reference to esoteric Christianity. And I'd like to read you a passage from a letter, a birthday greeting I sent to Klaus Schwab, who some of you may know is the founder of the World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland. And in this passage, in this birthday greeting, I introduce him to his mother of mothers as follows. It's a short passage I want to read. And this is one of the main inspirations behind our work. America is spelled A-M-E-R-I-C-A. If you break it up, it's A hyphen M-E-R-I hyphen C-A. America. If you break it down more, you can write A hyphen M-A-R-Y hyphen C-A, America. And we can take it the next step. And that is A hyphen M-A-R-Y hyphen C-A-S-A, Casa. Mother Mary has a profound connection through the Virgin of Guadalupe to the Americas. And this is a little of what I shared with Klaus Schwab from the birthday greeting to him. In an altered age, we worship the dead forms of our forefathers, Emerson said. The world holds on to a formal Christianity, and nobody dares to talk about the heart of Christianity for fear of shocking. This prayer for our lands cannot be rightly understood, Klaus, without an understanding, if not appreciation, for its inspiration. Such beneficence is invoked in the following words: Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Quote, the fourth revolution is not coming like the waves in the ocean, small waves, you stated, Klaus, all-knowingly. It's coming like a tsunami, the fourth revolution, where he says, by 2030, no one will own anything and be happy about it. And my response was, if you insist, Klaus. Your revolution tsunami aside, a mere dribble a mere dribble, Klaus, in the light illumination that follows, would you be surprised to discover that an even mightier and more magnificent wave is poised, old friend? I commend you the following revelation that bespeaks a heart and soul of this prayer for our land. February 1986, the month and year of the Lord and Our Lady. Quote, the masses of people in the streets continued to pray the rosary endlessly, some often garlands of flowers to the soldiers who stood guard. Some brave nuns climbed up on the tanks that were approaching. Those who stayed in their homes sent supplies of food and drink. So what I'm about to describe, friends, is witnessed by thousands upon thousands, in person and in television. The powers that would be, intent on retaining their control of the government despite the clear election results, the will of the people, this is in the Philippines with Marcos, has sent a full army with tanks and armored vehicles to quell the rising demonstrations, the mounting wave of humanity. Whatever it would take, the leader ordered, including massacring the thronging crowds that filled the streets. As the soldiers tried to advance Klaus, they saw in the sky what appeared to be a cross-like figure. But this did not hinder them from proceeding. The soldiers continued to press on towards the crowd. The rosary was recited continuously. The melody of Ave Maria sounded after each decade, 10 recitations, and then, all of a sudden, the soldiers stopped dead in their tracks, awestruck. A magnificent woman, encased in immense bright light and dressed as a nun, became clearly visible, standing in front of the tanks, witnessed, friends, by thousands upon thousands. The light was dazzling as the crowds beheld her. According to the soldiers, a beautiful woman dressed in blue with heavenly eyes appeared in front of them, extended her arms outward, and spoke in a voice that was clearly audible to everyone. Dear soldiers, stop. Do not proceed. Do not harm my children. I am the queen of this land. The soldiers dropped their weapons, ceased pressing forward, and, quote, joined the throngs of people to turn and fight with them against Marcos's Philippines regime. So it was, Klaus. So it is with regard, as noted, to the real world, the world of miracles, grace, amazing, saving grace. Quote, the soldiers claimed that the woman who appeared to them was the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary. A television station was covering the event, which prompted thousands of residents of the Philippines to run out of their homes in celebration. Mother Mary is with us. Cardinal James Sin vouchsafed the truth of the apparition. Yes, my heart was telling me that this was indeed Mary. And since the soldiers obeyed this woman who appeared to them and did not follow orders to fire upon the people, President Marcos found himself without power or support. The worldly powers bowed down, Klaus, to the heavenly power. The cardinal continued, this is when Marcos fled from the Philippines, fled because of a mother. That was the end of him. The cardinal paused, reflected before adding, deeply moved, I did not know the soldiers, but they came to me in tears, awestruck by the beautiful heavenly lady. That love, brother, I can vouch for it has been granted me these last months, baptized by the veil of tears of which the cardinal, our Blessed Mother herself, speaks to our heart of hearts. Friends, since June 24, St. John's Day, 1981, so 44 years, Mother Mary has appeared, not in Fatima and Lourdes of old, in Guadalupe in the Philippines, but in Medjugorje in the former Yugoslavia, appeared every single day to 6 young visionaries who've grown older, gradually, daily, only to 2 of the 6. But she's come for a reason. And that reason we attempt to hearken to, because she's there for us. And that's an essential part of our work with the Global Village University. And with that, I want to turn to Nikki, another dear mother. And Nikki's been asked to give us a taste of what I hope she'll offer more fully, which is what's at the core of our mounting misfortunes. And then we'll go more into the program itself. So Nikki, the floor is yours.
And you asked me to speak on a particular topic. You still want me to stay on that topic?
I do indeed. I do indeed.
Okay. Okay. Well, we all know that history repeats itself if we don't learn the lessons of the past, correct? There's nothing new there, right? Everyone agree?
Yep.
Yes? Okay. Okay, so cross your hands, okay? Cross your hands. Yeah. Okay, now open them up and raise one finger above the other and cross them again. What does that feel like? Feel the same or a little bit different? How about crossing your arms? Now cross them the other way. How does that feel? So when you look at things from 2 different directions, you tend to see things a little bit differently. We're back in an era of taxation without representation. Would you agree?
Yep.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, all righty, I hope this works okay. Okay, all right, so caveat emptor, y'all know what that means?
Not yet. And by the way, friends, if we lose a connection, please just click back in on the link if we lose a connection. Sorry, Nikki, to interrupt.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, caveat emptor means buyer beware. So what they're telling you about, oh yeah, we're going to be rich and this, that, and the other thing. Wait a minute. When words are missing from our vocabulary, we miss the concepts those words convey. Concealment, and they're concealing a word. The word is seigniorage. Are y'all familiar with the word seigniorage? Have you ever heard of it before? No answer, huh? Okay, the word is seigniorage. Concealment is the act of intentionally or unintentionally not revealing information, because a lot of them don't even know that they're doing this. So what you learned tonight from what I'm going to show you, bring to your representatives, your local representatives. Concealment is the act of intentionally or unintentionally not revealing information that should be disclosed and would otherwise affect the terms or creation of a contract. Taxation is a contract. We're paying for our representatives to do the right thing for us. A concealment can occur through either purposeful misrepresentation or
You're making me miss this.
Yes, just a minute, Nikki. Scott, can you go on mute? Friends, if people can mute when you're not talking, that would be appreciated. Sorry, Nikki, go ahead, please.
Okay. All of this can be found on the Ultimate Weapons. This is my blog spot, Integrity Training. Truth and integrity are the ultimate weapons for an army of one. So this is the ultimateweapons.blogspot.com, okay? And in the left-hand column, you'll be able to find things that I have put in here, okay? So anyhow, so a concealment can occur through either purposeful misrepresentation or withholding of material facts, and material facts are in red. Where the information could not have been known by the other party, and it is known to be material by the concealing party, the concealment can give grounds for nullifying the contract, okay? There are 3 types of concealments, which are as follows. Active concealment. Active concealment is the non-disclosure by words or action in a situation where there is a positive duty on the person to disclose something. They should be disclosing to the people the word seigniorage. Fraudulent concealment, the concealment where the person conceals something with the intent to deceive or defraud the other party. All this has been going on since 1913, by the way. Actually, earlier than that, and I have proof of that on another, do biblical parables explain cause and effect? All right. And King John's concessions to Pope Innocent III and the Magna Carta was because of that, but yet the Magna Carta is what they started to use in this country, and the Bar Association became, by definition, a criminal enterprise. You'll see if you go back to the ultimate weapons. I'm not going to spend time on that tonight. So anyhow, passive concealment is the act of silence in a situation where the person has a duty to speak and disclose relevant information. So active concealment is defining seigniorage. And all you have to do is press a button and you'll come, what is seigniorage? So this isn't me just making this stuff up. It's right here, okay? Understanding seigniorage. Understanding seigniorage is counted as revenue for a government when the money it creates is worth more than the cost to produce. This revenue often used by governments to finance portions of their expenditures without having to collect what? Taxes. For example, it costs the US government 5 cents to produce a $1 note. The seigniorage is 95 cents. When I heard about this back in the 90s, when we were still using, the bills or the notes without all the fancy stuff in it, it was 3 cents to print a note of any denomination. And I got to thinking about it and I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm getting paid every $10 that I get, somebody is pocketing $9.97, and I'm being taxed 20%, owing the government $11.97 for a $3 note. Or 3 penny note. This is a ripoff. And that was in the Federal Reserve brochure from Richmond, Virginia, 1993 edition. So anyhow, that, let me go back to here. Okay. So I went ahead and I did the math, and material facts is knowing the current cost of producing new currency. So this, I put this in here because the price changes every now and then. Under the Biden administration, it was a whole lot less than 8 cents, 8.6 cents or 9.6 cents, whatever that says, to print a $100 note. It was pretty much nothing back then. It was like a penny to print $1 or something like that. So anyway, material, and this, you can go to the Federal Reserve currency to check it out. This is the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. How much does it cost to print a note? And you just go down here, and this was changed when Kamala Harris took over. The last update was August 22nd, 2024. You see that? Okay. So just to know how much it costs to print the notes. So each year, the Federal Reserve Board, and they mimic what was right there in the seigniorage. All right. Each year, the Federal Reserve Board projects the likely demand for new currency and places an order with the Department of the Treasury's Bureau of Engraving and Printing. When the Federal Reserve took over, it went directly to the Treasury Department under Lincoln before he was assassinated, and you can see the Treasury flag in the Ford's Theater is way above the American flag. Take a look and you'll see that it was interesting, but that goes into another subject, and that goes into scriptural stuff about Esau and Jacob, so I won't go there. But
Nikki, let me jump in for a moment. We need to bring this to a conclusion in about a minute if we can. I want to just plant the seed in terms of what we have for this evening.
Yes, I will go right through this. Okay, so anyway, there you know where to get the information, and here is calculation. This is the calculations of a chart for Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania in 2004. And instead of taxing the people on the notes produced, I went ahead and brought it to the attention of local reps here that here, I went ahead and I did the math. I crunched the numbers. The calculated cost of notes for a $1 note, $2 note, so on and so forth. The production cost is here. Sorry about that. And the revenue needed and so on and so forth. Anyhow, I went ahead and did this on Excel, and you'll see what I'm doing here. So ask who is profiting, all of that, and then taxing the people on the face value of the notes. The population cost, per population, it should be less than $7 to print the amount of revenue needed here in Lackawanna County based on the population. Okay? So anyhow, so here's my ex-father-in-law. Well, he's now since passed away. But anyway, we were out looking at things, and we happened to see these monkeys, and, you know, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. And oh, shit, why didn't I say something? You know, oh, man. So this guy who's not speaking up is really going to be sad at some point in time. So the formula shown is column C, D, and E work in an Excel in a library form and may be with other programs as well. So to calculate the proposed cost for your particular venue, fill out the stipulated amount needed in columns A, D, enter the number of people in your venue, and just go ahead and do the math, and there is, you know, what to put in to find what it is. And here, this is a 1937 article, and it was an Ohio congressman, and he said in this April 19, 1937, it was in the newspaper, in the Scranton newspaper, Representative Lamnick, in Democrat in Ohio, told the House today the Federal Reserve System is committing legally the greatest burglary in history.
Nikki, I'm going to jump in now. Thank you. You've given us a wonderful overview, friends, as you can tell.
This explains let me just finish up by saying this explains seigniorage. Okay, very well. It explains seigniorage. Got it.
Nikki, thank you. And we will come back, Nikki. We will come back. This
Okay.
is a large topic that I don't want to go into all the details now.
That's
and
fine.
send it, Nikki. Send it, Nikki.
What did you say?
I said, send it.
So,
Oh, you get
So-
it's there. You saw where to get it. All right.
Good. So, friends, Nikki is someone who has been doing this work for years and years, and we will return to her in the future. But this is an aspect of the center's work with what we call Concordian economics, and economics of the substance that this degree program offers to the mechanics of it. And I'm going to introduce Luis, who's a center trustee. We talked about the degree that we offer from high school to postgraduate in the cutting edge field of not the physical, natural, social, or cognitive sciences, but the next step, the spiritual science, a reason, faith, a faithful reason, and enlightened common sense is offered to anybody who grasp the vision of an education that really draws from cultural roots, that has one of the finer small college collegiums in the nation, that is fully accredited, as we'll go into, that needn't cost a penny. For those who don't have the resources, they can do work study and devote time to fostering this offering. And friends, that provide serious students, not just with the good job, which most of education is about, just getting somebody a good paid job, regardless of whether what they're learning is nonsense or not, but the opportunity to fulfill their calling through connections. And Tim has a daughter here who's an architect, through connections with friends of the Center for American Studies, our concordium, our circle of friends. So in this case, it'd be architects and the like, who, as many older people, delighted to help younger people if they're serious and if they're committed. So that's what it's about. And now let us go into this question with Louis of the accreditation. And I'll just say one thing first in this specific respect, and that is we are accredited in different ways. But the major way is we're accredited the same way Harvard and the first colleges in our country accredited themselves. And that is they understood what they were doing and they believed in what they're doing. They didn't force anybody to get their education, to get a degree. They didn't force parents, they didn't force students, but they stood for what they were doing, and they answered to nobody at those times. Since then, it's become, the accreditation process has become very, very political. So Louis, can you give us a sense of how you worked with Queen Mother and what those who are on the call who may be interested in pursuing a degree from high school to postgraduate, how that would work?
Thank you very much, Stuart.
And I'm sorry, and that
Yes.
includes prisoners as well, Kathy and Jean. That includes prisoners as well. Sorry, Louis.
That is correct, Stuart. Thank you very much. I am delighted to be a part of this wonderful Center for American Studies Global Village University. I was invited by Stuart and Andrew, as a matter of fact. Through the hands of Andrew, I was introduced to Stuart, and I have the privilege of being part of the trustees for the center and for the Global Village University. I was introduced by both, specifically by Stuart, to Anthroposophy and Rudolf Steiner's teachings and the School of Waldorf. And since then, I have been amazed to find out that a lot of the teachings that have come across, and I have researched with the assistance of all of you, I have come to understand that I have followed the same path of being in the world, being broken, and being brought up again, made up whole with a new mind, with a new spirit, with a new sense of life. And thanks to the center and many of you that are here with us today, I was privileged in helping Queen Mother obtain that goal of higher education as the Global Village University establishes it as a spiritual sciences, fundamentally combining life experience with the spiritual experience. And throughout last year, we had many sessions, discussions, conversations, discussions, some pro, some con, but in a sense, a search for the sense, the one, the unity between all of us. And I was also privileged to assist Queen Mother, now Dr. Bernice, in, if you will, validating all she has done over a lifespan of 88 years throughout the communities, throughout the struggles, the battles, the challenges, and putting that into words. And Stuart asked me to take on the challenge of gathering all that documentation, all that information, all that experience, and put into a form that could be understood in a way that anybody could go to that document, which I call a degree assessment and evaluation that converts into what would be considered college credit courses. And from that, come to the understanding that that is a formality. That is mere a formality, so that we can represent in words what Queen Mother has done and is and will be in the future for many that come to the center and come to the university. She is a pinnacle, a foundation of the center, of the university, like many of you are right now in your own space, in your own field. But I had the privilege of gathering all that documentation, many documentation, many conversations we had during the sessions, and basically come to recognize the value of the spirit of Queen Mother and how we can recognize that in the material form, because we already recognize her in the spiritual realm. So many hours of work, many conversion, many research, and at the end, and to top it off, all the members of the Concordium of the trustees had an opportunity to interview Queen Mother, assess in their own ways and words what they have come to know about Queen Mother. And at the end, it was noted that she was past due being honored with the doctorate degree because of the so many things she has done for humanity, for her community, for the Black community, for the farmers, in the material aspect, but also in the spiritual aspect, which I put more emphasis on the spiritual aspect, but let's come to terms. She has won a lawsuit with the government where 66,000 farmers are compensated for a wrongdoing. Just that in a speck of what she has done signifies a life's work, over 20 years of work. And she can attest to that. And we can attest to that. So it was very gratifying to know that the Center for American Studies and the Concordians of the Global Village University have presented and have conferred Queen Mother the title of doctor. And unfortunately, and I was not able to be present at the ceremony, but I feel so wonderful that she is the first person so deserving to be part of this new revolution in education, where we, as we say, Global Village University, degree offering in the fully realized sciences of the spirit, cultural education, science of the spirit, or spiritual sciences. Now, that comes to mind, what have we been doing? And basically, we have been reimagining higher education, the Global Village University, and the sciences of the spirit. The world is facing a crisis of meaning. Our sciences advance, but our culture fractures. Technology grows, yet our sense of purpose shrinks. It is time to recover what Concord's visionaries once knew, that knowledge must unite science with the spirit. And it all comes down to the foundation. Queen Mother, you are a temple, you are a foundation, you are a pillar. But you have that because at the beginning is Rudolf Steiner, the Anthroposophy philosophy, the Rudolf School of Waldorf. And in Stuart's case and his people before him, Concord, Massachusetts was the home of Emerson, Thoreau, Alcott, and Fuller. The Concord School of Philosophy and Literature sought to connect reason with spirit. And the University Village, the Global Village University, inherits this legacy, creating a modern university that honors past wisdom while facing present needs. Now, what are the science of the spirit? Well, there's three fundamental points. Beyond natural and social sciences lies a discipline that studies consciousness, intuition, and meaning. Inspired by Goethe's scientific work, Rudolf Steiner, Anthroposophy, and Emerson's philosophy, aimed at bridging head, heart, intellect, and devotion. That's where we come in. We are following the footsteps of our forefathers in this sense. Stuart and you, Queen Mother, have built that path, have created that path for others to be able to appreciate and follow in the footsteps. Now, Einstein warned that humanity needs a new way of thinking to survive. Our current education emphasizes utility and economics, but neglects the ethics and the cultural renewal. Our cultures are being destroyed. Our foundation, our indigenous people, our African American, Native American, Caribbean, Indian, Asian communities are being destroyed because of the economics and fight for power. Our current education emphasizes utility and economics, but neglects ethics and cultural renewal. Global Village University responds with a curriculum grounded in enlightenment, common sense, and practical cultural application. Now, the structure and opportunity to obtain that type of education, like Stuart plainly stated, it is you participate of the sessions in a common with the new innovation and technology. Anybody in the world can come and participate and obtain that knowledge. It's free. You don't have to spend a penny. But you have to be willing to accept the challenge and the sacrifice to forget everything that has been taught before. You cannot build on something that is broken. You have to be broken to be lifted up again. Fully
Thank you.
accredited, just one, fully accredited through the Universal Cultural Education Association. Faculty includes Collegium of Global Thinkers, Educators, Artists. Students gain not only a degree, but also access to the Consortium network of more than 5,000 members worldwide. Courses will be offered both online and in Concord historic sites, including Waldo Pond and Emerson Study. And basically, to conclude, what is the vision and future that the Global Village University has for you? Establishing spiritual sciences as a recognized academic field alongside physical, natural, social, and cognitive sciences. It's a combination, not just one-sided, not biased, but everybody comes, talks, discusses, and we create as we go along. Preparing graduates for calling aligned with cultural and ecological renewal, and building a global invisible university that unites kindred spirits across borders. That is the purpose of the curriculum, of the emphasis of the foundation of the university through the Center for American Studies. And you are a part of that. You can be a part of that. We invite more people to become and come to the sessions, but that only happens if you invite them. Now, Stuart, Andrew, and I have been discussing various ways of doing that. And in the future sessions, we will be able to discuss more in detail what is being proposed, in which all of you can participate and be a light, a spirit of knowledge for so many others. And touching on the point for the people in the prison system and Kathy, this is a grand opportunity. Jane, Kathy, Nikki, your talent, your wisdom, your knowledge can be shared with that prison community in a partnership to make the center and GVU a beacon of light for those that are lost.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis. Thank you. I need to be the timekeeper as well. I apologize, but thank you for the presentation. And thank you for all the time, hours and hours and hours you put into assessing Queen Mother's own degree. She got certificates, assessing her life experience, assessing her influence, assessing all to her credit in a way that can be presented soundly to any accreditation agency. Not that we care as such, but it's a good discipline. What we say to such agencies is simply mind your own business. Mind your own business. This is a cultural impulse. We're not political or economic. We're glad for the discipline to translate these degrees we offer in a way that makes sense to others, but we answer to ourselves. The way Harvard did, the way the first institutions did, there were no accreditation agencies then. They believed in what they're doing and they stood for it. And again, the main purpose why people get degrees is to get jobs, to make a living, and we can make those connections. If there was an accreditation, and in case of the spiritual sciences, there simply are no accreditation agencies because this is a cutting edge field. So there's really no one that could assess properly what we're doing. But I want to take us for a moment, friends, to the website.
You're breaking up, Stuart.
Here. If someone could nod and let me know if this is clear.
Now we hear you.
Nikki, is it clear?
Yes.
Can you all see what's on screen?
Yep.
Can anybody see what's on the screen?
Yes, we can see
Can
it.
anybody see what's on the screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Global Village
friends,
University.
this is at the center's website, which is www.concord-ium.us. Concord-ium.us. And these are the areas that we touch on, and that's where we go into length about how our degrees are accredited. So I commend that to you. Those that are interested in proceeding, there's an enrollment process, and then there's the covenant, the agreement. So it's good to familiarize yourself with that. That said, I want to take the last roughly 20 minutes, friends, and go into some of the nuts and bolts, if I may use that term, of a spiritual science, a science of the spirit. And I want to ask, beginning with Queen Mother, that we, those that are gathered here, simply read these leading thoughts. These are the foundation, the cornerstones for a fully realized science of the spirit. This is the foundation, I believe, upon which we can build a future worth envisioning. So can you see this, friends? And the link was in the email I sent. Can you see this, Queen Mother? Could you read the first of the leading thoughts in front of us, if you can see it? And then I'd like to invite everybody to read one of the leading thoughts, and you'll get a sense of what we mean by this next step of fully realized science of the spirit for our modern scientific age.
It's not showing on the screen, Stuart. All I have is the center bar on my screen.
Okay, hang on a minute, my apologies. Let me try this. 1 second. Can anybody see this?
Center for American Studies. Oh.
Friends, can you
Okay, we
see
got it now.
this?
Up there.
We have it now.
Yes, we do.
And the first thought reads,
So just-
Anthroposophy.
Okay, so if we could just go around, and so,
Anthroposophy is a
we're
path
not
of
hearing you, Queen.
knowledge. Well, I'm unmuted. You hear me now?
We hear you, yeah.
Anthroposophy is a path of knowledge to guide the spirit in the human being to spiritual in the universe. It arises in a man as a need of the heart, of the life of feeling, and it can be justified by inasmuch as it can satisfy this inner need. He alone can acknowledge anthroposophists who find in it what he himself in his own inner life feel impelled to seek. Hence, only they can be anthroposophists who fear certain questions on the nature of man and the universe as an element, as an elementary need of life, just as one feel hunger and thirst. Anthroposophy is knowledge,
Thank
understanding
you,
one inner self.
So,
There is a higher.
just have a physical body that feels hungry.
I'm getting feedback or
Can
something.
people hear?
Go ahead, Al.
Can people hear? Anybody hear me here?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
We've been hearing you.
You cut it out again.
Your voice
do
is
you-
very flaky.
Stuart, do you want me to read number 2?
Thank you, Queen Mother. So we have a physical
You're a dwarf
body,
now,
nerd.
Stuart.
Let us proceed. Thank you. Yes.
Number 2, Anthroposophy
Go ahead.
communicates.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Louis, read number 2 if you would.
Thank you. Anthroposophy communicates knowledge that is gained in a spiritual way, yet it only does so because everyday life and the science founded on sense perception and intellectual activity led to a barrier along life's way, a limit where the life of the soul in man would die if he could go no further. Everyday life and science do not lead to this limit in such a way as to compel man to stop short at it. For at the very frontier where the knowledge derived from sense perception ceases, there is open through the human soul itself the further outlook into the spiritual world.
Thank you. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Let's go on. Nikki, can you read the 3rd one? Can you hear me, Nikki? Can
Now
anybody
I
hear
can
me?
I can hear you now.
Yep. I hear you.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
There are number 3.
Nikki,
There
the
are
third one, Nikki?
those number 3. There are those who believe that. Is somebody else talking? Colonel, I think that you're not on mute. Okay. There are those who believe that with the limits of knowledge derived from a sense of perception, the limits of all insight are given. Yet, if they would carefully observe how they became conscious of these limits, they would find in their very consciousness of the limits, the faculties to transcend them. The fish swims up to the limits of the water. It must return back because it lacks the physical organs, don't move it, to live outside the elements. Man reaches the limits of knowledge attainable by sense perception, but he can recognize that on the way to this point, powers of the soul have arisen in him. Powers whereby the soul can live in an element that goes beyond the horizon of the senses. You could take it from there. I yield.
Sorry for the problems before. Can people hear me?
Yep.
Good. Okay. My apologies. This technology. So let us continue for a few more minutes, but I want to make the point here. The first of the leading thoughts. Can people hear me? Nikki, can you nod if you can hear me? Thank you. So the first of the leading thoughts, I don't know but what your experience was, but when I was young, I knew there had to be something more. There had to be something more because it was absent. That irony, that paradox, that hole in the heart, there has to be something more. This is why the science of the spirit has come into the world. Now, that's not to say this has all the answers, but it is what it is. Rudolf Steiner, this friend, was born with tremendous spiritual faculties, extraordinary. But his path was through the modern sciences, through the dragon's skin. He got the equivalent of 2 doctorate degrees in the MIT of the day in Vienna. So he mastered the sciences because we're entering into a modern scientific age. And unless we can speak that language and understand that thinking, what we bring forward would just be mysticism, subjective and so on. So that was the task. So this first one, that there's something that people long for and seek. And those who have that longing, this is why Anthroposophy is in the world. And it communicates in the second one, knowledge that is gained in a spiritual way. And what would most deans at Harvard and Yale and Princeton do with that sentence? Communicates knowledge that is gained in a spiritual way. And then the limits of knowledge, those number 3, those who say the limits of knowledge derive from sense perception. But once one gets in touch with certain powers of the soul, then faculties can awaken. So let us go on. Scott, can you read this 4th one, please?
Sure. For certainty of feeling and for a strong unfolding of his will, man needs a knowledge of the spiritual world. However widely he may feel the greatness, beauty, and wisdom of the natural world, this world gives him no answer to the question of his own being. His own being holds together the materials and forces of the natural world in the living and sensitive form of man until the moment when he passes through the gate of death. Then nature receives this human form, and nature cannot hold it together. She can but dissolve and disperse it. Great, beautiful, wisdom-filled nature does indeed answer the question, how is the human form dissolved and destroyed? but not the other question. How is it maintained and held together? No theoretical objection can dispel this question from the feeling soul of man, unless indeed he prefers to lull himself to sleep. The presence of this question must incessantly maintain alive in every human soul that is really awake, the longing for spiritual paths of world knowledge.
Beautifully read. Beautifully read. Jacqueline, may we invite you to read the 5th, and then I'm going to ask Chris to read the 6th, if you wish.
Sure. For peace in his inner life, man needs self-knowledge in the spirit. He finds himself in his thinking, feeling, and willing. He sees how thinking, feeling, and willing are dependent on the natural man. In all their developments, they must follow the health and sickness, the strengthening and the weakening of the body. Every sleep blots them out. Thus, the experience of everyday life shows the spiritual consciousness of man in the greatest imaginable dependence on his bodily existence. Man suddenly becomes aware that in this realm of ordinary experience, self-knowledge may be utterly lost. The search for it is a vain quest. Then first the anxious question arises. Can there be a self-knowledge transcending the ordinary experiences of life? Can we have any certainty at all as to a true self of man? Anthroposophy would fain answer this question on a firm basis of spiritual experience. In so doing, it takes its stand not on any opinion or belief, but on a conscious experience in the spirit, an experience in its own nature, no less certain than the conscious experience in the body.
Beautiful. I mean, friends, we could spend weeks on any of these, but I want to give you a sense of the overview. So, Chris, are you there? Can you hear us? Do you want to pick up the thread? Let us go on then. Jacqueline, are you there? And do you want to read the next one? Can people hear me? Would someone nod if you can hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm not seeing that what you had up there. It's disappeared in my screen anyway.
Hang on a sec. 1 minute.
Share is gone.
One moment. Can someone who's adept on the computer go to rsarchive.org, rsarchive.org, and when you get there, call up the Anthroposophical Leading Thoughts, rsarchive.org, or maybe can you see it now again or not, friends?
Yes, it's showing now, the Rudolf Steiner archive.
Good. So, Jacqueline, do you hear us? And would you like to read the 6th one? Are you there, Jacqueline?
She might have had to run to the...
Okay. So let me give it to Chris. So Chris, this is the 6 here of the leading thought.
When we look out on lifeless nature, we find a world full of inner relationships of law and order. We seek for these relationships and find them in content of laws in nature. We find, moreover, that by virtue of these laws, lifeless nature forms a connected whole with the entire earth. We may now pass from this earthly connection which rules in all lifeless things to contemplate the living world of plants. We see how the universe beyond the earth sends in from distances of space the forces which draw the living forth out of the womb of lifeless. And all living things were made aware of an element of being which, freeing itself from the mere earthly connection, makes manifest the forces that work down onto the earth from realms of cosmic space. As in the eye, we become aware of the luminous object which confronts it. So in the tiniest plant, we're made aware of the nature of light beyond the earth. Through this ascent in contemplation, we can perceive the difference of the earthly and physical, which holds sway in the lifeless world, from extra-earthly and ethereal, which abounds in all living things.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. So can people hear me?
Yep.
So let us go. Jean, can you read the 7th? Are you there, Jean? Can you read the 7th?
Yes, but my screen is entirely black. I don't know if it's projected or not, but I don't see anything.
1 second.
No, you're not sharing anymore, Stuart.
1 second.
1 minute,
it's
friend.
black.
My apologies. 1 minute. So I'm having difficulty with my computer. Has someone been able to call up rsarchive.org and then to Google Anthroposophical Leading Thoughts? We'll be finished in about 10 minutes, so we are coming to the end. But can someone do that and then put up on the screen here? Louis, are you able to do that? rsarchive.org. Are you there, Louis? Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Can you nod if you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm trying to go into Google and resource the link.
Okay. Apologize, friends. I'll also see if I can get it up again. Just 1 minute. And we are drawing to the end, so thank you for your patience.
Stuart, you said number 7?
Please, yep.
Okay, let me try to just a moment.
I'll try to get it up again as well.
Okay. Can anybody see my screen?
Yep, so number 7.
Yes.
Thank you, Jean.
Yes.
Okay, we find man with his transcendent being of soul and spirit placed into this world of the earthly and the extra-earthly. Inasmuch as he is placed into the earthly connection, which contains all lifeless things, he bears with him his physical body. Inasmuch as he unfolds within him the forces which the living world draws into his earthly sphere from cosmic space, he has an etherical life body. The trend of science in modern times has taken no account of this essential contrast of the earthly and the ethereal. For this very reason, science has given birth to the most impossible conceptions of the ether. For fear of losing their way in fanciful and nebulous ideas, scientists have refrained from dwelling on the real contrast. But unless we do so, we can attain no true insight into the universe and man.
Thank you, Jean. So, friends, we have reduced and concretized life, pushing it towards the material physical realm and losing sight of the etheric realm, the really living realm. This is part of the whole mechanization and demonization of the earth. Let us go on. So, Andrew, can you read number 8? And Jean, can you scroll that, please?
Yes, I believe so. We may consider the nature of man insofar as it results from his physical and his etheric body. We shall find that all the phenomena of man's life, which proceed from this side of his nature, remain in the unconscious, nor do they ever lead to consciousness. Consciousness is not lighted up, but darkened when the activity of the physical and the etheric body is enhanced. Conditions of fairness and the like can be recognized as the result of such.
Conditions of faintness and the like. Sorry.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Conditions of faintness and the like can be recognized as the result of such enhancement. Following up this line of thought, we recognize that something is at work in man and in the animal, which is not of the same nature as the physical and the etheric. It takes effect not when the forces of the physical and the etheric are active in their own way, but when they cease to be thus active. In this way, we arrive at the conception of the astral body.
Thank you, Andrew. So, friends, think of the Russian dolls, if you may know, the wooden dolls, one inside the other, inside the other, inside the other. We can grip our finger and we can feel the bone. If we take one hand and grip our finger, and that bone is part of the skeleton that goes throughout our whole body, we can let our finger descend to the pulse on our wrist. That pulse is not the physical body, it's not the skeleton, it's a life force, which we also can find throughout our body, in our neck, in our heel, in our heart, everywhere. So there we have what's called a life body or an etheric body. Electricity being fallen light, the ether forces being a resurrected life. We can go further. We can go to the human soul, the third of the Russian dolls, where all of a sudden consciousness arises, which isn't, we come, if you will, into the animal realm from the plant realm where you just have life, and from the mineral realm, which is seemingly dead, we come into the soul realm, the astral realm, if you will, the life forces. Consciousness. But then we have something that the animals don't have. We have a self. We have a self-consciousness. And that lives in the image of the charioteer, if you will, of old, who's standing on the chariot. And there are three animals, three horses that he's seeking to guide. He's standing up, erect, upright. And his task is to hold the reins and keep these forces, this force of consciousness, but out of his self, to guide it in a way that can take us into the future. So let's go on. Tim, are you there? Can you hear us? And would you care to read the next one, if so? Do you hear us, Tim? Let's go on then. Perhaps Tim will join us. Jacqueline, are you there? Would you like, if so, would you like to read? Okay. Vanes, can you hear us? Our sister from Zimbabwe, can you hear us? Tim says, I'm here, but my mic is not working. Jay from India, can you hear us, Jay? Do you want to read the 9th leading thought?
Good evening to everyone.
Greetings, Jay.
The reality of this astral body is discovered when we rise in meditation from the thinking that is stimulated by the outer senses to an inner act of vision. To this end, the thinking that is stimulated from without must be taken hold of inwardly and experienced as such, intensely in the soul, apart from its relation to the outer world. Through the strength of soul, thus engendered, we become aware that there are inner organs of perception which see a spiritual reality working in the animal and man at the very point where the physical and the etheric body are held in check in order that consciousness may arise.
Very important, Jay. Thank you. Jay's with us from India, a center trustee and an old friend. So when we're going too fast, when we're running, when we're jogging, when our physical body is engaged and we're breathing deeply, our life body, it's hard to come to consciousness. In a certain way, they need to die down for us to come to consciousness. We can't be in German aufgeregt. We can't be engaged if we really want to come to consciousness. So has everybody read? Is there anybody here who can hear us who hasn't yet read who would like to do so? I don't want to exclude anybody, but we will be drawing this now towards its end. Anybody wish to read that hasn't done so thus far? Well, friends, then let us draw it to an end. I'm going to ask Queen Mother, after I give us a verse, to give a concluding prayer. These leading thoughts are in the email that you all received with the agenda. And what we're doing, friends, we're doing for all of humankind. Because again, 50 years ago, the cognitive sciences didn't exist. And now they're all over. Conferences, seminars, fellowships, courses. And so is coming the next step, the spiritual sciences. But it can only come if people who understand that education is a cultural impulse, a spiritual impulse, if we work together. And that's what this work with the Global Village University is about. And that's what you're all invited to take part in. So any final comments before I offer a verse and then turn to Queen Mother to give the concluding prayer? Any final comments? Feel free to speak up, one or all. I'm sorry, Tim, we can't hear you, but any comments from anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. Stuart, I want to thank you for inviting me and my family on here. What you're doing is extremely special and necessary for humanity. And everything that you said, I am completely in line with. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. Any other comments, friends? We have Vanes with us from Zimbabwe, the former Rhodesia. I don't know if she can hear us. We have a wonderful circle for this Global Village University. Any other concluding comments?
Stuart, if I may, this is
Yeah.
this is Andrew Williams Jr. I'm here in Los Angeles, California, and I want to bring to everyone's attention how important this gathering is today, in particular because we're approaching a very important day later this month, September 21st, the International Day of Peace. I can think of no better commemoration of that than this gathering here. So I want to thank all of you for sharing this particular time together. Also, for the Center for American Studies at Concord, as I've explained to Stuart, I believe we're now on the cusp of a reawakening of the spirit of Concord. And in that regard, we are working together to create a series of podcasts focusing on America 250. July 4th of next year marks the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. But the blood of Crispus Attucks is in the DNA of our country. And as we approach this upcoming International Day of Peace and next year's commemoration, I would ask all of you, all of us, to think about ways we can heal our human spirit together here in America and around the world. Because as America is good, it's important for us to be good for the rest of the world, but we have to heal ourselves. So I want to ask you all to consider that. I'm coming to you from the land of the Tongva indigenous people. And so it's important, I think, that we acknowledge the fact that we are all ingrained in this lifeline called the United States of America. So achieving a spiritual reckoning, I think, is very important for a wider audience than just us here. And Stuart, with your permission and those here, I would like to ask if I might share this to a wider audience and build momentum going forward so that our work reaches a global audience. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew is the center trustee in LA at this time, who's taken the lead on this podcast series that may be filmed. And it takes us, friends, to the final point on the agenda. And I want to offer this as a homework assignment, so to speak, for those so moved. The main task of friend Rudolf Steiner, his main calling was to bring to our understanding a modern spiritual scientific conception of reincarnation, repeated earth lives, human to human, and karma, destiny, the law of cause and effect in its soul and spiritual dimension. We've talked about in our gatherings that if we understand the notion of reincarnation, that is, that in our striving to become whole, balanced, full, complete, our eternal spirit journeys from one lifetime to the next differently. One lifetime male, the next female. One lifetime Christian, the next Jew. One lifetime black, the next white. And our striving to become truly humane, to experience the fullness of our humanity. That's the key concept. And then in the end of the agenda you all received, I offered a parting reflection, a reckoning to move in your hearts, beginning with a quote by Emerson. We wish to be settled, but our salvation lies in being unsettled. We wish to be settled, but our salvation lies in being unsettled. Our very salvation. And I said, looking ahead to the onset of our Autumn Global Village University, please feel free, if the Spirit moves you, and we'll take this up next time, to consider and speak to the eternal existential question. Why have we called forth, friends, any obstacles that we face towards our own unfolding? That's the image friend Rudolf Steiner gives. He says, if you want to understand why a tile fell off the roof as you're walking along the sidewalk by this house, to really understand it, you need to understand that a part of yourself went up on the roof and loosened the tile. I worked with a beloved Dutch doctor on a book called Blessed by Illness. And that's part of the insight that we call upon ourselves with our angels every night, what's to unfold the next day, in every lifetime, what's to unfold the next lifetime. I'm expressing it simplistically, but Queen Mother's Life and Labors is a wonderful example of just that. So I invite you to think about that for our next call, and we gather every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. For our next call, why have you called forth, friends, any obstacles you may face towards your own unfolding? Problems, challenges, opportunities. So let me invite again, any other parting comments from folks here, Chris or anybody, and then we'll do the concluding verse in prayer. Louis.
Stuart, thank you very much. Thank you all for attending this session. I know that I have learned something new from this session, and we have so much to give forward. It is becoming of each one of us to be enlightened by the other, but only if we have open minds, open hearts, and open soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. So, friends, the concluding verse, and then Queen Mother will give us a concluding prayer. This is a verse from friend Rudolf Steiner, and I'm going to say it twice. It's short. I have an old friend who hadn't really slept for 3 years. I gave her this verse. The next morning she told me she slept soundly. If any of you have those challenges, may it also serve you. I bear my sorrows into the setting sun. I lay all my worries into its shining lap. Purified in light, transformed in love, they, that is my sorrows and worries, will return, that is in the morning, as helping thoughts, as strength for deeds, rejoicing in sacrifice. So without the insertions, I bear my sorrows into the setting sun. I lay all my worries into its shining lap. Purified in light, transformed in love, they will return as helping thoughts, as strength for deeds, rejoicing in sacrifice. Queen Mother, as we began, we end with your words, your prayer.
Thank you. As we close this session for this day, we want to say, Lord, we thank you for sharing and the input each has contributed. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that this university yields. Lord, we thank you for the fellowship that is given. And we ask you to keep us in perfect peace as we depart one from the other until we meet again. Amen.
Amen. So friends, we convene again. Thank you, Scott, for your gesture. We convene again. This will be every Sunday evening. And those who want to proceed with an actual degree, feel free to communicate that to us. Please go to the website and look at the headings down to accreditation and down to enrollment and down to the covenant. And then we'll work with Louis and others to assess your life experience, your different studies, courses you may have done, and see how they would go towards an actual degree from high school, Scott, for your dear son, to college, master's, PhD, postdoctorate, on our own terms, not on the terms of an educational system that's driven by the almighty buck. Again, Harvard is a hedge fund with a university attached to it and not a political institution, but out of the human spirit. So thank you, Queen Mother. Thank you, one and all. We gather again next Sunday at 8 p.m. Look very much forward.
Thank you, Colonel Lou.
Thank you.
Thank you for India.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I put a template for the seigniorage in the chat area there. Okay?
Thank you.
If you'd like to use it, and also send it to you by email, Bernice. Okay?
Yeah, because I can't never get it off the chat.
Oh, okay.
You're not the only one.
Don't want to open. I don't know why I have such problem. They don't want to open up.
Nikki, could you also send it to me?
I did. I sent it to you, Jean, and and Bernice.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blessings.
Share it with